Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. I'm Sean Devlin from Servoy, and I'm pleased to bring you this tech webinar that we run every 2 weeks. Before we jump into it, I just want to beat the Servoy world drum one more time and remind everyone that it's coming up November 9th, I believe, and we have all the info for this on our website, so please go visit there if you haven't signed up. I do believe there might be still some space left in the conference hotel, but if you haven't signed up yet, please do so. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll be posting some more info about the sessions about that soon. Today, I'm happy to be joined by my colleague and friend, Patrick Russert, who is a longtime Servoy expert, and he's done some pretty cool work on how to deal with file uploads in Servoy. And it's a topic that we've been meaning to cover in this tech webinar series, so we finally got around to it, because there's always a lot of questions on our forum and emails to me, etc. So Patrick, please take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. My screen is visible?
Yes, I see the lovely Movenpick Hotel.
Yeah, I'm a bit new in the business, and the thing asked me if attendees are still on hold, but yeah, I guess they're not. All right. How do I proceed here with this slide? Damn. Ooh, geez.
Fancy.
All right. Topic today is how to upload files in Servoy. There's always been the file plugin that allowed you to select a file and upload it. That has changed slightly when the web client was introduced ages ago, and has remained the same with the ng client, but it could be that not everybody is really familiar with that. So I'm gonna show how that works. And we can go, sorry. No, I wanted to go to the agenda here. So the file selecting, all right? So that is the first thing I'd like to show. And the second one is then the file upload component that maybe not everybody is aware that it exists. And that is a component that allows you to drag and drop files. And basically without coding, files are uploaded to the server. And then lastly, we have a preview of a component that we will ship with the next Servoy release in the fall. That is like the file upload component. It allows drag and drop. It is highly customizable. It allows multi-file upload, which is one of the features that has been requested quite a lot. And it has a pretty sleek UI. So the thing to do now is demo, right, Sean? First demo, then, yeah.
Yeah, demo.
Demo. So let's see. Now I have these slides open, so I'm firing up. Yeah, that breaks it. Kill that one. All right, first demo is how to upload files using the standard out-of-the-box Servoy file plugin. So there's a button here that allows me to select files. This one is now filtering for image types. I'm going to show how that is done in a second. So all we see here is images, while in that folder, we are in the files in folder. There's actually more files. There's PDF and text files, etc. But this one will only allow me to select images. So I can select a bunch of images. I can add more, can remove one, and then upload them. Let's see if that is cleared. Once they are uploaded, they should end up in this directory here that is currently empty. So we upload those, and here we got a little message that says that these two files were uploaded. So pretty easy use case, right? So let's have a look on how that is done, which is the next thing you always do, right? And let's have a look at the form first. That is the form. A simple button. and that button has only the select file method attached, which is over here. And all that does is it says show file open dialog. Then this parameter controls whether I'm allowed to multi-select files. And this is an array of allowed file endings. So that's how I manage to only select images. And then an important bit here is that the files are not directly returned to this method, but they are given to a callback method, which is down here. That callback method receives an array of the files that were uploaded. And in the sample here, I'm writing to the message box, which is this one. And I get the name of the file, and I get the bytes of the file, and write them to the output directory. This little method just creates a, oh, sorry, something on my throat. This method just creates a JS file. We have a look for the output path and the file name. If it already exists, it removes it and returns a JS file that can be written to. So at the end of the day, once the files are uploaded, they just be written to the output directory. So pretty simple use case. Next, slightly more elegant version is the upload bean that allows to drop files on here. So basically there's two modes. You can click and select files. Yeah, no, we have seen how they were filtered there. And it immediately starts uploading here. So it is uploaded. I can select another one, upload it, select the PDF, upload it. All the files again end up here in the out. So that is the same mechanism. And you can tweak it slightly. So there's a few options that allow you to control on, oops, where's the other one? No, sorry. Files in, we need files in. It's a bit
Patrick, I have a question. I thought I saw a progress bar, but I guess you're running locally, so the upload is really quick.
Yeah, that's too fast.
But if
I even tried with 500 megabytes, but the progress bar won't help much.
So if it were a large file, though, they would see it.
It would slowly progress, exactly.
Okay. By the way, if anyone else has any questions, there's a question panel in the GoToMeeting console. You can type in your question there, and we'll answer them at the end.
There's an option to also hide the progress bar in case you don't want that. Then it will just show you that it has done the job. After it is finished, it will show a success, and then return to the state where you can drop. All right, so let's have a look how that works. Implementation is slightly different from the other one. All right, so in that case, what is used is the, where's the upload thing? The file upload component here. So I dragged it on the form. There it is. And it has a few options that you can tweak. For example, the accept property here controls what you can upload. So very similar to what we've seen in the file select. So if I want to drag, for example, a text file, that shouldn't be allowed. Let's see what happens then. It turns red and produces a message here. The message comes from here, from that property upload not supported text. That could obviously be any I18N or whatever string. This is not a default. I made it match to the accept filter that I gave it. You can control what icon it shows. You can control how long the display, the success message stays on the screen. Here are the properties that we control from here. And well, important thing is now to see how the file is received. And that is done through the onDataChange event, because this component is hooked to our data provider here. So if we look at the code, the onDataChange receives the bytes of the file, because that is the change that is being made to the data provider. The data provider is up here. It's a variable in my case. It could be a record, a column of a record. In my case, it's just a form variable. These two I explain in a second. So on onDataChange, I write some output, like in the other example. I get the bytes and I write them to the file. So it's the same procedure basically, except for that the event here is a different one than the callback method we've seen before. These two variables here are a naming convention that the component is using to provide the file name and the MIME type of the file that was uploaded. So the data provider will receive the bytes, and if you want to know the file name and MIME type of the file uploaded, then you need to have two form variables with that data provider underscore file name, data provider underscore MIME type naming. And then here I can grab the file name that was uploaded. That is what you've seen down here, the output here in the field. All right, so that is basically all to the bean. It's pretty easy to implement, and it can only upload one file at a time, and goes directly to a data provider. All right, next example. That is actually the one that marketing asked for when they came up with this webinar idea. And that is this one. It's called Uppy. That is a new component that we want to ship with the next release of Servoy. And let's see how that works. It asks you here to drop files. So we do that again. Let me remove all these from the out folder. And let me get some files. So let's see. All right, so you've seen all kinds of stuff happening now. There was a toaster that told me that I cannot upload a certain file type. The files are added to a list before they are uploaded. So that's a difference to the upload bean. The upload bean starts uploading immediately. Here you can see the files that you're about to upload before you actually upload them. You start the upload with a button here. So you can even add more files now afterwards, and still decide to upload or remove a file. Another nice thing that this supports is you can add meta fields. So as a developer in the designer, we see that in a minute, you can add an array of fields that you want to add to the file that is being uploaded, like to ask the user for some input on things. Let's give it a, this is the title and some purpose. You save that, you are returned to the list. Now when I upload these, you see down here that, well, you've seen a lot of events anyway coming in, but at the end here, you see that the files were uploaded, and somewhere here you also have the fields that I provided, right, for the one file, and some purpose. This is the title down here. That's what you get then. Okay, after an upload is done, the user can add more. So the component will remember the files that it uploaded, and it will keep track of all the files that have been in that upload session. So now we upload one more file. Down there it comes. There's quite some API. So for example, I can clear it all. Let's add some more files like that. I can remove a file using API. The last one then is gone. I can get a list of all files. Then we have to look down here. So now here's this output down here. Gives me the files that the user currently has in the box here. Another nice feature is to not use it inline at all. So not show it inside the form, but show it in a modal. Let's see how that looks. So now the component is gone, and you open the file drop thingy using an API call. And again, you can drop stuff. Here it tells me again that I can only upload files of type so and so and so and so. The previews here are a bit nicer. You have more space. You can still do all this editing of extra fields, upload. You can control whether it closes now or stays open, etc. So there's a bunch of properties that allow you to control the behavior. All right, so let's have a look how that is done here. Designer, that is, close all these. All right, for the time being, the component resides in the Servoy extra components package. That might change. We're not fully sure how we're gonna release this as its own thing or as part of the Servoy extras. Component sits on the form. And here you see a bunch of properties that allow you to control how it behaves and what is shown, etc. I'm only going to show maybe the most interesting ones. Here, for example, this is the meta fields that you've seen. So it's pretty simple. Field has an identifier, has a name that is shown as the label, and has a placeholder text. So those were the two that we've seen, right? The file restrictions that it can handle, we've seen that a few file types were allowed and others not. So in this case, it's just an array of MIME types basically, but it also supports jokers like that. So any video type, any image type, text files, and PDFs in that case. But you could also have, let's say, a maximum number of files that are supported. So you can say a user can only upload 5 files. When he drags in 7, then only 5 are in the list, and he gets a warning. A maximum number of a single file can be added. Things like that. So you can restrict that people won't upload you 500 megabytes. Another interesting aspect maybe is that there are possibly a range of different sources of files. So we've seen my file system as a source, but a possibility, for example, is that you also add a webcam. Maybe I can show that. Now it looks slightly different. It shows you my device to browse from or the camera. All right, and you see me. I can take a picture. Boom. And it has a file here. So that is also a nice addition. It supports a range of languages. Currently, I added English, Spanish, German, French, Dutch, Italian, but there's a few more like Russian and I don't know. We can add them before we actually release that. Maybe Dutch. Let's see how that goes. That's Dutch now. Mein Apparat. Yep. Let's see what else did I like to show. Yeah, the properties. No, that's good. I think that's all done. The rest here basically controls if you see the status bar, if the page can scroll when the modal is open. So when the user uses the scrolling wheel, will the page below the modal scroll or not, etc. So things like that. Interesting part here is the events that it supports. So, for example, there's an event before a file gets added. you can run into a method and actually reject that a certain file is added for whatever reason. That is similar to restrictions, but you could say that files with a name of so-and-so cannot be added. So you could refuse that. That is a method that is fired when the user adds a file before he uploads it. That's a handler that is called when a file is removed and so forth. So the important one basically is this one. That is the one that is called when the file is uploaded. That is typically when you want to process server-side the file that you received. And then there's one handler that is called when the full upload is complete, so when all files are uploaded. The on restriction failed, we've seen that happening, that the toaster popped up. You remember that one? Let me show again. Which was the file that was not allowed? I don't remember. I can just grab them all. That toaster here, that is fired by the on restriction failed event. We'll look at that code in a second. So handlers for basically everything that goes on in the component, right? Okay, so let's have a look on what happens on file uploaded. So the file uploaded handler, it receives a JS upload object. That one is new to Servoy, so that is one of the reasons why we will release this with the next release of Servoy and not today. What I'm doing here again is I output the name of the file uploaded and the number of bytes that I received, and then I write it directly from that JS upload object to a file. So that's pretty simple handling, right? The other events here that I attached, they basically output to the console here. What you receive here is a bit different. It's not a JS upload object like up here, but it's an Uppy file object that basically offers things like the meta fields that the user added, the name, the progress status of transfer, the ID, the type, etc. So in all these examples, when I removed a file, added a file, etc., the events down there, they will just output to the field. If you have a look again. So let's see. When I remove a file here, down here you see file removed, so-and-so JPEG. So this comes from this event, for example. Here's an example on how you could react on before file added. You could do something like return false if it's not a PDF, then the file would not be added to the list of files. This is the one that is fired on upload complete. In that event, you get actually an array of all the successful files and an array of all the failed files. This is the restriction failed. In that case, I output the name and the error message, and then I push that toaster, and that toaster asks the component for the allowed file times and writes them with a comma separated in the toaster message. All right, lastly, the component also has quite some API methods that you can call. For example, a reset, that is that one, it clears everything. An upload method that starts the upload without the user pushing that button that we've seen down here. Let me drag some files back in. Boom. So that button here, you can also do that programmatically. I haven't created a button for that case, but yeah, there's API to start the upload. A remove file that I had a button for. Get files, so you get all the files that are there. Get file by ID, so you can check if a file, for example, before upload has meta fields filled out or not, things like that. All right, so that is basically it regarding the new Uppy component. I hope you like that. So let's go to the recap of what we've covered. How do I start from here? Present. Looks good. All right. So the file select that we've seen, the first one, the file upload. We've seen that you can upload multiple files. File type restrictions can be provided. So you can say, I only want text files or Excel files or whatever. You need two methods to get this working. The first one that shows the dialog. In that one, you have to provide the callback method that will then receive the files. And in that callback method, you receive an array of all the files that were uploaded during that session, and you can process them there. Nice thing maybe for some of you is that it works in all client types the same. So you can use this in the Smart Client, Web Client, NG Client, all the same coding style. All right, next one was the file upload component from the Servoy extra components package that you've seen can do drag and drop, or you click to select files. File restrictions are possible through the accept property. It's customizable. You can also style it, so you can override style classes to customize the appearance of it. The files need to be processed via the onDataChange event. And that one is maybe a bit hard to remember, but if you want the file time and the file name and the type, then you need to have two variables with the data provider underscore file name and data provider underscore MIME type, whatever your data provider name is, form variables, and that will receive then after each upload the file name and MIME type of the file that was just uploaded. All right, and lastly, the Uppy component preview that we've seen that can do drag and drop, click select. You can do multiple files. The component keeps track of all files. So it doesn't start to upload immediately, although you can enable that mode too. That's one of the properties that makes it upload right away. There could be several sources. For the time being, that's the file system and the camera. It can be shown modal or inline on a form. There's lots of interaction possible even before the user uploads. So you can look at the files before they get uploaded. For example, if you disable the upload button and you make your own upload button, then you can get all the files before the user uploads and check, for example, the meta fields, if they are filled or not. And you can say, well, file number 3 still needs a description or whatever. So there's lots of things you can do API-wise, and it has loads of events to react whenever something goes on in the component itself. So the meta fields are a nice addition, I think. So it's easy to describe a file before it gets uploaded. It has language support. I have been looking into providing your own translations, and that will be possible. I'm not fully sure how that is done because the list of strings used is quite extensive. I'm thinking about letting you provide a text file that contains all these. So that will be possible next to the languages that are already part of it. Downside is it requires 2019-09. Okay, so that is basically it for me. Are there questions, Sean?
Yeah, we have quite some questions. Thanks for that,
Oh my
Patrick.
God.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we had some praise for a great demo from Bob Cusick. It's always nice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So James asked, can this get metadata like file size and file type before uploading it, or does it have to be fully uploaded before the system gets this information? I think you answered that for the metadata. How about, for example, the file size?
Yeah, once the file is added to the component, you can ask the component for its files, and that file array you get there has name and meta, MIME type, etc. So yes, it's possible.
So if you wanted to limit an upload to say 500 megabytes, you'd be able to do that before they start sending it to the server?
Yes, but you should probably do that through a restriction because that's a bit more straightforward, right?
Okay.
So we had I can show that again. In the restrictions, you could say that you don't want files larger than so and so. Where is it? Restrictions here. There's a max file size. So you enter a number of bytes, and then it will be limited to that.
Okay. Excellent. Another question from Eros. Can Uppy be used on mobile to take multiple pictures and store them in a database?
I haven't tried, but it should, yes.
Yeah, I think when you use browser-based application on a mobile and you get to the sort of file upload integration, it typically defaults to allowing you to get files from. I think even the older way
the
of
photo library as well.
Yeah. So that should work.
Yeah, I've shortly looked at some demo, and that looked very much like that does. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's an input, so they do support that on mobile devices. Yeah, should work. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question from Juan Carlos. Anything in the bean to rename the files automatically? For example, using a parameter like a renaming scheme, and then he types something in which is hard to read out loud, but is there a way to, I guess, rename files automatically to some sort of naming convention that you have?
Before they get uploaded, I mean, you have the file added, for example. I haven't tried, but I would say you can change the name there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can always do that once they are uploaded, right? So once you receive them, you can do anything with them. But yeah, it should be possible to do that even before, when you receive the files, for example, here on the file added event. Yeah, you get the file object, and that has properties, so that should be possible. Yeah.
Okay. Question from Andreas, or more of a comment, I guess. One nice extra for the file upload would be a barcode recognition, and then get the information into meta fields. I gather that's not really something that you would put directly into this component, but we have applications.
It sounds slightly exotic, but
yeah.
Before it gets uploaded, why not after it gets uploaded?
I guess
you get the file, you look at it. If it's an image, you try to see a barcode and you add that to whatever data that you store.
Andreas, maybe you can send us a description of your use case by email or post it on the forum, and we can look at it in more detail. Question from Imre, related more to plugins, .file.write file. For really large files, is there a buffered loop technique behind, or just the whole, or just flushes the whole file from memory?
I think in the examples that we've seen, the whole thing is in memory.
Yeah. I don't think we in the sort of out of the box API we do any buffering, but that's easily possible because you can always write Java code when you're writing a file too. So if you wanted to, you could buffer. Another question from Juan Carlos regarding adding metadata. Does the metadata, is it added to the uploaded file? Can it be added to PDF files? Would the metadata show in the document properties of the PDF?
I didn't get that one.
I guess what he's saying is after it's been uploaded, and you looked at the document properties, would it show up in the documents properties of the PDF?
So you upload a PDF that has metadata, and that should show in the meta fields that we've seen here.
Right.
That's the idea?
Yeah, I guess he's wondering if it's in the file under, on the file system as document properties.
Yeah, but that's very file format specific. This is just an uploading mechanism. So it's not a file analyzer. That's similar to the barcode question, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, once the file is uploaded and it's a PDF, you can take that PDF apart and grab the meta fields from there.
Okay. All right. Finally, a comment from Kim. He said, "I can't wait for this component. Long overdue. Great job." And I think that's a good one to end on because we're over time. It seems there's a lot of questions and interest. Just to remind you guys, the third demo that Patrick showed is in requires the next version of Servoy, which will be out 2019-09. That means our third quarter release, which will be out in September for public beta, so you can try it as soon as it's available. And we'll probably make an announcement on how we sort of properly release that component as well. So you need the component and the new version of Servoy. Patrick, great job. Thanks a lot. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for attending. If you want to watch this again, we'll be posting the recording. And Patrick, do we have an example solution that they'll be able to have access to when the component is released?
Well, if the one that I had was good enough, yeah.
I think so. All right, guys. Thanks so much. And we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.